Hi everyone. I've got Matt Dubb with me today, who's one of the people on the leadership team here at Reef. Matt's going to talk a bit about strategy. So, Matt, do you want to let people know what it is exactly you're going to be sharing today?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Scott. I want to talk today about 5 digital marketing strategy tips for success. Really, one of the things that bugs me about digital marketing is the myth that strategy is some kind of dark art, and really it's not that at all. In fact, it's a pretty straightforward exercise, and when it's done in the right order for the right reasons, it's probably the biggest deciding factor in whether you win or fail. Really, it's just a logic-driven process that helps you understand how to get from where you are now to where you want to be. And there are 3 parts to any good strategy. Where we are right now, the diagnosis, how we're going to approach the challenge, the strategy, and what we're going to do to make it happen. So the tactics.
Great stuff. So let's dive into step 1 then.
Yeah, okay. So step 1, Scott, is really to start with the research. It's often seen as a laborious, sort of time-consuming and expensive process. It isn't, and it's actually one of the most valuable pieces of work you can do. And here's why. Just to put it in context for perhaps many of the digital marketers out there, imagine you running an AdWords campaign and you want to increase your conversions. So you go away, write a bunch of new ads, stop the old ones and throw 50 grand into it and then hope it works. Now, hopefully most of the viewers think that's an insane idea, because it is. Your first step would obviously be to review the performance of those campaigns and understand which variations worked, which bidding strategies outperformed others, which landing pages performed best, so on and so forth. So really, it's not a case of using a free audit tool or a simple process. Don't be fooled. You should do proper surveys, you should do technical analysis and account reviews. The quality of the research dictates the quality of the strategy. So it's a good idea to invest in this and take the time to do it properly. But by going through that process, you'll be able to unearth gaps and opportunities that exist instead of throwing lots of budget and effort into activities just because somebody else is doing it.
Like the old saying, isn't it? If you're going to chop down the tree, spend the first few hours sharpening the axe.
That's exactly right. So what you need to do is understand your customers, you need to understand your market, you need to understand your competitors. You need to go through and really get a good understanding of how your site's performing. You need to understand where your search visibility is at. You need to understand what the opportunities are on, say, social, for example, which activities have worked and which haven't, and also look at what's happening offline as well.
Okay, so do you operate with any kind of framework when you approach these things, or any kind of sort of top-level overview of an approach for going about this?
Exactly, that's point 2. So very often marketing strategy ends up being documented across huge slide decks and dashboards, reports and spreadsheets. We've all seen that sort of thing before. And it really makes it difficult to understand in a single view. And the problem with that, obviously, is it causes a lot of confusion. So a good marketing framework helps you avoid this situation and helps you manage your work during deployment. It can help you challenge ad hoc ideas like campaigns, assets, and make sure you're really aligning with your wider goals. And I think really importantly, it just helps everyone think clearly. So there's a few models out there, things like PR Smith's SOS Stack framework that people might have heard of. And jump into Smart Insights and have a look at that, because there's some really good information on it. Here at Reef, over the last couple of years, we've developed a methodology called the Reef Customer Conversion Journey, and it helps our clients solve important digital marketing challenges quickly by building a data-informed plan without wasting lots of time and money on something huge and unnecessary. So really the advice here is to do yourself a favour and use a good framework as the foundation to help yourself and those around you think more clearly about digital marketing.
Great, and couldn't agree more. The kind of framework is the structure that kind of holds everything together and keeps people focused and not sort of going off too much on tangents. So let's talk a little bit about metrics then, and how we measure the success of things. So what kind of insights would you share around measuring success?
Yeah, so look, we could spend a long time talking about metrics and measurement and analytics, and obviously there's lots of good literature out there, but just want to keep it simple. So successful strategy isn't more social follows. It's not more conversions and more reach. Everything needs to be tied back to the wider objective. KPIs are just that, they're indicators, and digital often becomes over obsessed with these metrics, largely because they're easy to report on, and they're easy to look at on a daily or weekly basis and sort of judge at any given moment whether things are working or not. They're fine for short-term performance and seeing whether or not we're achieving what we've set out to do there. But when we think at a more strategic level, we need to be thinking big picture. And so our measures of success need to be bigger too. And that normally means a much longer view with higher level KPIs. So that's things like, share of voice, improving customer lifetime value, increasing profit, improving retention and customer satisfaction, that sort of thing. So it's one of the core values at Reef is to celebrate the wins, but it's making sure that everything's tied back to those wider goals and objectives, and making sure that when we're reporting on both, and that your metrics are structured in that way. We've got high level, big goals, big picture business objectives here, and then as we move down into a more detailed level, a tactical view, we've got the right KPIs that help us build towards those goals.
Okay, great. And so if we're talking strategy, we probably can't talk about strategy without mentioning MarTech. But there's obviously a right way of probably looking at this and how it fits in, and perhaps a wrong way of thinking that the tool is some sort of magic bullet that's going to kind of make everything work wonders for you. So what's your opinion on MarTech and where and how this kind of fits in?
Yeah, I mean, like anybody, I'm sure in digital marketing, I'm as big a fan of technology as you can find. But I think that there's a really good quote from Pet Lyer, I hope I've got that right, from CXL. And he really hits the nail on the head with this quote. A lot of folks think tools are magic. It's common for amateurs and executives removed from execution to think that the new shiny toy will deliver results. Pros know the tool is only there to support you. So there are now 7,000 technologies available to marketers, and finding the right tools to use can take a very long time. Scott, you and I have been through processes like this at Reef. It's a big exercise. There's a lot of pressure, and it can take that attention away from things that are frankly more important. Tools help us get the job done, but they won't do the job for us. So before we dive into the tools and technologies, let's get the strategy right. Let's make sure we understand the framework that we're going to use. We've got to research. We also know what sort of measurements are that we want to report on, and then find the right tools to do that job. Don't be led by the tools, which can help you change the way that you execute. Sometimes you need to factor that in, but get those first strategy points right first.
Yeah, 100%, couldn't agree more. And you're quite right, we have been through quite a few journeys on reviewing different technologies and rolling them out. So just on rolling things out, strategy is one thing, but I'm sure lots of people would agree it's the execution that's gonna sort of is the important thing. So yeah, talk a little bit about the execution of the strategy and any kind of tips or advice you could share in that respect.
Yeah, certainly. So a world-beating strategy never deployed isn't worth its weight in kilobytes. If it takes you months and costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, and trust me, I've seen this from some big consulting firms, if it takes that amount of money and time to develop a blueprint, only for you to then later realize it can't be deployed because of disagreements or compliance restrictions or technical roadblocks or changing market conditions, you will at best stand still. It's really important then to make sure that we've got the three parts of strategy right. like I said earlier on, where we are now, diagnosing the problem, making sure we understand it, doing your research. 2 is to make sure we understand how we're going to approach the challenge, which is the strategy. And thirdly, it's the tactics. So understanding what we're going to do, when and how, the actions. Ultimately, we've got to be clear, focused and realistic about what to do and when.
Fantastic. So thanks for sharing those insights, Matt. That kind of wraps up today's show. So I'll let you get back to your day and catch you all next time.
Perfect. Cheers, Scott. See ya.
Yeah.